Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybrick Family Farm. Today is a very exciting day for me. It's actually been a couple years since I've gotten to tap any maple trees just because of life circumstances and things of that nature. So I'm actually super jazzed to finally get to do this. One of the things that I was really excited about when we bought this property was seeing how many maple trees there already were that were a decent size and able to be tapped. So a lot of people don't realize that you can tap any sort of maple tree as long as it's bigger than 10 inches in diameter. Typically, I like to pick trees that are at least 12 inches in diameter, just so then that way I know for sure that like the tree is old enough, big enough, healthy enough, things of that nature. Now, there is a bunch of discrepancy as to how many taps you can put into a tree. For me personally, I just do one. Sometimes if a tree is really big, or if it's like that tree up there where it has multiple different shoots, I'll do a tap on each different shoot there. But for me personally, I'm not going to tap that maple tree just because of the fact that that is the biggest tree that we have on the entire property, and I don't want to risk anything ever happening to it, just because I really like big trees. But so I want to show you guys how I do this. So I already drilled out a hole right here. It's going to be very hard to see because it's not a very big hole. I used, if you look online for tree tapping kits, or if you go to like Tractor Supply, different stores like that, they have maple tree tapping kits. Something of the sort like that. I'm sure if you Googled it, you will find a million different results. So it'll tell you online as to what size drill bit that you need. And pretty much all of the information you'll read says that when you drill the hole into the tree, you want to put it in about 1.5 inches in. What I had done, which you guys might not be able to see, that little red mark right by my nostril on the drill bit there, I actually marked the drill bit so that way whenever I am doing this number and putting it into the tree, I can see exactly how far I need to go in and where to stop at. One of the things also that I do that's a little bit different, that I've just found that it works better, is to drill very slowly, go slowly in and out of the tree. I don't know if it makes any difference, but to me, it just seems like a more gentle practice instead of, having the drill go as fast as it can and shoving it in as hard as you can. I think it's just a more gentle, loving way to do it. I wouldn't want, if somebody was piercing my ears or something of the sort like that, I really wouldn't want them just to ram the thing in there. Well, actually, I guess I kind of would. That's why they make them piercing guns. Anyways, if I was getting stabbed, I'd rather it be a slow stab than something really fast and vigorous and kind of aggressive. So then the next thing that you do is, for me, the kit that I got online, I think the brand was called Sap Happy or something of the sort like that. They come with these tubes here and then these little nozzle things. I think they're called like spiles or spills, or I don't know technical terms. I just know how to do the thing. So then what you do is you connect the tube to the nozzle thing, and then I had drilled just a simple hole into a milk jug here. It's just a hole in the lid. I just picked a drill bit that was the same size as the tube and then drilled a bunch of holes in them, shoved them into the container. When you want to pick your tree, when you're picking your tree, you want to make sure that it does not have any damage on it or any spots that are decayed or bark missing. So I'll show you a tree that I was going to tap until I realized that it was not a suitable tree to tap. This big maple here, it's got a nice big branch that goes down over there. I was getting ready to tap it, and then I realized that right over in here, which might be kind of hard for you guys to see, there's a whole bunch of bark missing here, showing me that the tree actually is not in that great a shape. So you don't, even though it is safe to tap maple trees, it doesn't make it so that way they die sooner. It really is not anything harmful because you're not going into the hard wood of it. You don't want to tap any trees that are already stressed out, that are already struggling, or that are not simply doing well just because of the fact that it could potentially end up causing more ants or things of that nature to get into the tree, causing problems. So you just want to basically do a real quick visual on the tree. I try to look all the way around the trunk of the tree, and then when it's nice out, when it's not tapping season, I usually try to make a mental note as to where different trees are that I can tap that are going to be an easy path to check, because when you tap your trees, you actually need to check on them every single day that the sap is potentially going to run. So the sap runs, how you know it's time to tap your trees is basically the sap will run when the daytime temperature is above freezing, but the nighttime temperature is below freezing. So for me, with the extended forecast for the next 2 weeks, that's basically what's going to keep happening, is that every day during the daytime it's above freezing, nighttime below freezing. So, and you can only leave the taps in the trees for about a month. So even though I am a little bit early with tapping, last year I actually missed the tapping season just because of the fact that I was waiting till it was a little bit more convenient of a time for me. Waited till February, and the season was gone. It was done and over with. Everything broke bud really early, which that means basically they're putting out little flowers to make the little cool seedling helicopter thingies that maple trees do. Once that happens, the season is completely over because your syrup will taste kind of like grass. So not ideal. But so then back to tapping, you just stick this here in. You stick it in as hard as you can with your hand. I give it a little bit of a wiggle and a jiggle as I go in. And then you take, gotta get my mallet out of my bucket of tools. Evidently the ducks and geese, they either see me or they're just playing because it's finally warmed up a little bit. But so you then take the rubber mallet and you tap it in. Now, I try to tap on the south side of the trees because that is the side that obviously the sun is shining from behind me. That is the south. It'll make it so that way, as you can see right now, the tree has sun on it. That will make it so the tree warms up faster on this side, and then the sap will run out faster. So it does take an awful lot of sap to get a very small amount of syrup, and it takes a very long time to cook it down. So it's a nice homesteading activity that you can do at this time of year when there's not really much else going on, and it gives you an excuse to get outside, to get to know your property better, to get to know your woods, your trees, and just to learn something new, and also to get outside. Like, it is really, really important to get sunlight, especially if you live in a northern climate, a cold climate. Your vitamin D levels can drop pretty drastically at this time of year because, you know, you're always covered up, you're always bundled up, and you're not spending much time outside. So I'm a very big advocate of year-round spending time outside. But so that is the whole tapping process. So it's very easy, and it's not a difficult thing, and you can use any sort of container that you have. I just highly recommend putting something with a lid on there. You can do buckets, you can do all sorts of different stuff. I just like using a lid because as the sap comes out, there will be ants that will notice that, you know, there's sap coming out of the tree, and it's sticky and it's sugary and it's delicious. So they will actually try to get into your jug sometimes. But yeah, the lid stops all of that. But if you're wondering how much sap it takes to make a gallon of maple syrup, this will explain to you as to why it is so expensive to buy real maple syrup. It takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of sugar, or of syrup. So it is an awful lot of time and energy that is put into it. And if you know somebody that's doing it on their own, definitely reward them handsomely for trekking out into the woods, you know, in the cold months of the year, and, you know, diligently checking and tapping the trees. So anyways, I want to show you guys one more tree that is not something that I would tap, even though it looks like it would be a decent sized tree. So this maple tree here, it is a nice sized tree, but as you can see, at one point this area here had actually rotted and somebody had cut it down and had cut it off. I will not tap trees that are like this just because of the fact that, you know, there's different, if there wasn't snow here, you guys would be able to see that there's woodpecker holes, all sorts of stuff like that, that this tree actually is, you know, essentially, if you want to consider it this, is actually on its way out. It's on its way of dying. It's starting that process and stuff, even though it'll probably be, you know, 10, 20 years before it needs to come down, or even more, you know, could be less too, who knows. You know, I don't want to basically introduce any more stress or strain to this beautiful tree here because, well, I like trees. I don't want to add any harm or difficulty to it. But yeah, that's all I got for today. I have several more taps to put in, and trying to just figure out a good path as to where I want to harvest this at. So when I'm tapping, I try to pick trees that are all in the same general location, so then that way I'm making one path up the steep hill and then one path back down with this jugs of sap, because some days each tree will produce up to a gallon or sometimes even more than that of the sap. So there's times that you actually have to come out twice during the day to collect the sap if it's really running good, which is an exciting problem to have, but it gets tiring. So anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.